Well viewers, welcome back to another video. This is the last day at POD. So before I leave, I'm going to do two quick videos. One video of MEGGY. As you can see, it does not look the same as it last week actually, last year. And well, Martin's right over here to tell you what he has been doing to MEGGY in the previous year. Just to recap, last year the engine, what's in here now, was not in yet. And the paint was also different. Other than that, I have no clue, and Martin's going to tell you about it right now.
Well, yeah, I got a bit busy with a Valve can, matte black being my favourite, and just wanted something different, and I just let my imagination go, I guess, and this is the result. Yeah, it was lots and lots of masking tape.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Tamiya masking tape was quite flexible, really easy to work with. Started with this arch like I did last time, and then it went from there. It wasn't supposed to be yellow, it just ended up being yellow because on the day I came to spray it, I couldn't get any other colour because the paint I actually ordered was so thin you would have had to do several layers. It was supposed to be sponged on to have a bit of effect, but when I sponged it on, it was just, yeah, it weren't working. So I just sent my partner off to the nearest place and come back with some AA colour, AA isn't it? AA yellow. So yeah, it's just gone from there. I mean, it's not perfect, it never was, it's a track car. If it gets damaged, it just gets sprayed again and off we go. So, but want something a bit different, and as all my cars.
And different it is. Very eye-catching.
And as all my cars have been black before, let's make it a bit more brighter. So, yeah, pretty much it's basically a wrap in one piece. Everything joins, all the different panels, it all joins up. But I had to do it all in one piece by piece. The car was there originally. I had a 205 in, which was getting a full restro that had to be covered up, and I only had Saturdays to do it. So it wasn't that I could just spend 3 days straight on it. I was literally just spending 2 hours here, 2 hours there. There's a small video on YouTube if you want to see it.
I'll link it in the description or like in there.
Nothing fancy, just a quite quick slideshow. But other than that, we've had some new wheels on it, compo motives on the front.
I'll have a look at those. I have to say, I love these wheels. The other two are upstairs. Look at these. UK made. I didn't know a compo motive was UK brand, by the way. Just realised that when I looked at the wheels.
They've just re-released these, so I was like, right, take an opportunity now to get these. They're only in 17s, which is perfect for me. And obviously on your wheels we've got new slicks on the front, which are basically slicks off the rear on the front. So we've still got 235 in the front and 233 on the back. Obviously these are my wets, so to speak, with the old wheels.
Still look great though.
Yeah, I mean they're originally what I put on the car. They're slightly wider actually. But again, these are so I can get it rolling loaded, which will be the next couple of weeks, all being well. So anything else? Well, it's been CarTech. I've had CarTech ECU put in, wired it myself. CarTech dash. We've had the.
So it was in there last year, but let's have a quick look. That's the cover in there, but yeah.
CarTech PDM in there, which makes everything dead easy to wire in. It's quite straightforward. There's no fuses, no relays, all new wiring. 2 gauges on the dash. One's traction control, which you can adjust, and the other one is boost. And obviously the knob in the middle is the brake bias. The little switch, or say the little button next to it, twisty knobby. That's fuel pump control, so I can. That's lift pump, so I can slow it down or speed it up.
Yeah. So you don't have the pump overheating and heating up your fuel.
Well, what it was is because I went with dash 10 ANs, I couldn't find a suitable lift pump. I used the injection one, and then I just used a bit of trickery to slow it down. And it works fine. It ran fine at the last track day, no issues. I could get it at whatever speed I need to, and then leave it. And obviously now I'm pushing a bit more power, actually double. I'm going to have to raise it up a little bit more, so it works out quite nicely. So, but no, what else have we done? Fuel labs, fuel pump, fuel labs. Now let me just open this up. and we can get it open.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, little clips where it wants to work. Give me a minute. My fingers are not really strong enough after a full day of work, but no, these come out fine. Ow, fingers in it. I've been on the Aquablast all day. I can't feel the end of my fingers.
Oh, yeah, just clip them down.
Clip inside, yeah.
This one clips down.
Yeah. Get them out. I can see it from the back screen now.
Yeah, probably. Where's it?
This has got that Velcro on it. Yeah. See what I mean? Put a bit of pressure on there.
Oh, I think it was already loose.
Got it?
Ah.
No, I'll show you the right window this so it's also a Velcro on there, that's why you can see the size, but you just stick your camera through there. Obviously the same charge cooler, new was going to go with a bigger engine, well, bigger turbo, so that's future proof. On the other side of the boost pipe there, you'll see the fuel labs, fuel pressure regulator. Fuel pressure regulators for me in the past have been a bit of a pain. I've had to drill them out because they weren't returning enough fuel and causing spikes. So the engine again, where do we start? So it's an R26, MEGGY RS26 that is. Brand new gearbox from Renault. If it doesn't take the power, then I know it wasn't that, it was a worn gearbox, it's a new one. There's a possibility it might not last, but there's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Go for it, go it.
So, I've got forged rods, forged pistons, slightly oversized, base bearings, lighter flywheel, race clutch, it's at 7.5 or 7.25, 550 foot-pounds pressure plate. Top end we've got race cams, cat cams that is, big valves, so the size mill on the inlet, mill and a half on the inlet, mill on the exhaust, double valve springs, titanium retainers, CNC head, which is just a piece of art, really. Just
It's CNC boarding or?
Yeah, CNC.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely just mind blowing because you map it out first on the computer, and then you work out the best path, and then you remove as much material as you can.
Yeah, that's
to create
pretty serious stuff, yeah.
So obviously with that being done, I've had to make my own inlet manifold, which was ported and made much bigger. It's got a 70mm throttle body, which I believe, and I prove that these engines are massively choked by the tiny little throttle body. Made a big amount of power when I did that on the original engine.
Was the original, how much horsepower was that? Like 400? Just give or take?
These make about 280 bhp and at 300 foot-pounds of torque, which they're limited because the rods. I mean, you can push more, but that's the safe amount of torque you want to put out on standard rods.
And yours?
I made 301 bhp, and I generally believe that was down to the throttle body because obviously using engine management, it's not a remap or anything. I could obviously change the throttle body to a cable, which made it a lot more responsive, I believe, and a lot more air getting in there. So obviously power comes from the ability to flow, where torque comes from, obviously efficiency. But believe that was a big thing. So we have K20 coils in there. Okay, it's coil on plug. Full sequential. We've got 875 injectors in there. Cook Sport fuel rail. If you look on this side, I've not seen anyone else do this before. If someone has, then yeah, great. We have a trigger wheel on the end of the cam, which I've made a boss and fitted it on there. Got a Ford crank sensor.
Well, a bit dark, but believe me, there is a trigger wheel. I can see it.
I've got no light, have I?
Yeah, I
but,
mean,
I'll pull my phone out. I can show you. I'm going to press the right button.
I was wondering if that was stock or not.
No.
Oh yeah.
So that's 3D printed the mount. Obviously, that was just to make sure it works.
It's pretty clever stuff.
It was just.
Is the trigger wheel also 3D printed?
No, that was done on. That was off eBay actually. Perfectly honest with you.
It was just a random.
Yeah, 12 teeth, one missing, so 11 teeth on that one. Then obviously it's a Ford crank sensor. Obviously 3D printed mount. which is fine. I will make one out of aluminium very shortly, obviously, but for the purposes of getting it up and running, getting it mapped, it's fine. Anything else? Obviously the manifold, the exhaust manifold, that's custom made. Obviously it's just so we can lift the turbo up. Turbo being a G30 660, which are good for 600 horse. I'm hoping for 600 horse. Yeah, I've got a 45mm. I think it's turbo
tile.
Smart, yeah, turbo smart.
Yeah.
Turbo smart wastegate. That's dumped straight into the tank. Sorry, straight into the exhaust.
Oh yeah.
It's not perfectly. I mean, it's straight in there, but flow doesn't really mess up when you're off boost anyway. We've got a different oil pickup line.
Looks really nice, by the way. Oh, this is the drain, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drain's nice.
It's still cooled by the turbo. Sorry, coolant is still going through the turbo. And that's a bit longer, all being well. But no, it's. I had to 3D print it down here as well. You can see that. 3D print the actual spindle for the throttle body.
Oh yeah.
So unfortunately my pedal wouldn't open the throttle more than 75%, so I had to make a 3D print a smaller wheel so it would. So that's why that's like that. Again, hopefully that doesn't melt. But these melt at 220 or at 220 C. It's not going to be any more than 150 C in there, I hope not. So that should be fine. And obviously the blow-off valve here, again, it's a turbo smart one. I think it's, I can't remember what size that is, a 45 Pro Race one.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the induction hoses are 3-inch. That was so I didn't have to step down off the actual charge cooler.
Exactly.
The charge cooler works just like it did last year, so there's no difference there either.
And of course, and again, the side skirts are not on because when it's parked enough.
They're a bit battered.
Yeah.
I drove it on, forgetting I had them on there, onto the lower loader and caught the edge and torn it. So, but the only thing I have done, you might not have seen, is these calipers and discs, which I've pulled one off. I have to thank Matt for that one because.
Yeah, these things are massive. Yeah, these are originally for like a. I think
these are for the 406 V6, and these were custom made for my specific requirements. The other ones are great, don't get me wrong, but I wanted bigger. I wanted bigger than the Brembo.
Yeah, these brakes are massive. I'm all about brakes. This is such a pretty setup.
Yeah, I think they're 360. I think those discs are. Probably, I think it's 340 actually. I think it's the biggest ones I can get in the 17-inch wheel. Let's see if I can just show you the setup. I mean, I really need to take that out there.
Oh, this way. I showed it in the video last year, so you don't have to. But no, if you want, then yeah.
Oh, I'm not just so much. A lot of people have not seen it. It's still painted red actually from when it was.
Come on,
red before. So. But it's all big, obviously, since I pulled the engine out, the whole front end, the interior, back end, has all been rubbed back down again, and I have, it's raptored.
Yeah.
I had issues with the paint last time. I actually thought I bought red oxide, and no it hadn't been, it was mislabelled, or they just conned me. So I was starting to get a bit of rust coming through, was not happy, so I spent a good month rubbing it down and repainting it, so it's all done now. It
looks pretty damn good, man, I'll tell you that.
So, but behind there is a fuel lamp pump. Obviously this is a swirl pot.
Yeah.
I've had most of it rewired to some degree because obviously the PDM. So all that's been done. So everything's automatic, so we're not
nice and tidy. The
out.
Suspension also looks pretty tricky. Gas struts, as I can see.
Yeah, they're gold, so quite adjustable.
Yeah, pretty damn cool.
This is like I say, I mean, handled right out the box. Better than I expected actually. I was expecting it to be very twitchy and it really wasn't. It understeered, if I'm honest with you, and that was because of lack of weight on the front, and the slicks I had on it were medium profiles, and because of the lack of weight on them, it took a good 2-3 laps before it started to warm up. And once it warmed up, I had no understeer, and it just, yeah, I was really quite impressed with how it handled. There's lots more I can do with it. There's no anti-roll bars on this, so in case if it rolls too much, I just tighten up the suspension or
Yeah.
hide the springs. Makes it a lot easier and quicker to dial it in. And then obviously after that, if I want to put 2 bars in, I can do.
But the plan is to not use them, but if it has to be done, then you'll be doing
I
it.
don't feel I need to. It's that low and wide. It doesn't roll either. I mean,
Yeah.
the way I've done the suspension, the roll sensors are very low,
Yeah.
so it doesn't technically lift into a corner anymore. It sort of drops down, so it doesn't roll. It actually leans on the tyre now, where normal 205s will lift into a corner and skip. This sort of digs in. The front is different to the back. The front has been, the inner wishbone pickups have been lifted up by 1 inch. The steering rock's been lifted up. The outers have been dropped 2 inches. So it gives you a lot lower roll steer. The rear again, the subframe was actually fabricated 1 inch higher up. So that did the same sort of purpose, but in the rear.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't have to mess around with any settings or anything like that. So, but pretty much just saying. We've got it sitting a little bit low now, and obviously with these new wheels and tyres, stick out a bit too far. No,
But that can be fixed.
yeah, full Lockley do rub, unfortunately. But with these wheels, I had no choice but to put 30mm spacers on. They didn't do a Ford, they didn't do a Peugeot fitment, only a Ford. With being a different offset, I had to fill it in with a spacer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would just lock on the actual springs, the inside wheel. Brings out a little bit more, but I can always adjust the suspension, so I can bring the wheels in a bit more. And obviously, the rear has now got 50mm extra spacers on the back. Because I haven't got the bolt to put them back in again, have I? As we found out today.
Yeah.
But it's almost ready to be put on the rolling road. Just waiting for some space. As we out of session, need to put Gearbox in, which funny enough is actually landed here today.
Oh yeah.
Just need to put fuel in, make sure there's no leaks, set the fuel pressure, then off we go. We've got all the time in, we've got it all synced. The crank, so it's just a case now of firing it up.
And the plan is about to reach 600, as you said.
Yeah, I want to break 600, but for the time being I've just got 1 bar of pressure on the springs and the actual wastegate. We'll run it up to 1 bar, see what it makes. We'll run it in, do a track day, make sure there's no teething problems. There is going to be teething problems with the suspension.
Always,
stuff,
yeah.
It's been all taken off. There always will be teething problems, and it's what makes these things fun, I guess. Then once the engine's on, there's no leaks and there's no knocking, pinking or any of that, then we can obviously go for a bit more boost, but 1 step at a time. I don't want to just go hell for leather, so to speak. It's
Exactly, yeah.
Processes, but yeah, we're getting there.
That's pretty awesome. Well, I guess that's about it for this video. And for people wondering why this car is even called MEGGY, because the rear end is all McGann, right? The rear end.
I don't know how it came about. Someone just said, "Oh, MEGGY," and that was it. Then it ended up being MEGGY.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to say than it's a 205 rear-wheel drive, McGann engine, blah blah blah.
Exactly. Well, there you have it. And yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and hopefully see you in the next one. Click it. Click it.
Wastegate.